Welcome, everyone. And of course, first of all, apologies for the technical glitches, but I'm really happy to introduce our speaker in our lecture series, Manuscriptology and Digital Humanities to you. Today's speaker is Dr. Sudha Gopalakrishnan, who is the project director of SAMHiTA and also executive director of IIC-International Research Division. Dr. Sudha Gopalakrishnan will today present this relatively new project to us, SAMHiTA, which is entitled South Asian Manuscript Histories and Textual Archives. A project that, of course, is of extreme interest to everyone who works with manuscripts, who is looking for manuscripts, who is hoping for digitization of manuscripts. And so without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Sudha Gopalakrishnan and would like to ask you to take the microphone.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Huxen, for that wonderful introduction. And also thanks to everybody who has joined today. And I know that it's a collaboration between the Heidelberg University and also the Otani University. I can see Dr. Shobha Rani Das here. So thank to you also, and also everybody has joined in here. So like Professor Huxen was saying, I think what we are trying to present here today is a comparatively new program, started only in 2022 to be exact. But I think I would like to say a kind of long felt need to fulfill for that matter. This is actually to document and put together a database and a digital repository of manuscripts from many of the collections that have gone from India and South Asia to other parts of the world. I mean, many such attempts may have been started at many points of time, but this is something that, in a way, started by India, started by the India International Center, which has been behind us with some kind of support from the Ministry of External Affairs, which also felt that something like this to put together a textual tradition of South Asia may be needed. And I feel that India is at a position at this point of time to do such a thing, because we had already started as all of you know, about the National Manuscript Mission to put together a repository like this at the national scale, on the national front, trying to put together a database and a digital text of all manuscripts that are found in different parts of India. Well, though it had started in 2003, I must say that around 2010-12, it went dormant for some time. But now it has been revived by the present dispensation within the government as something called Gyan Bharatam. And just about it got inaugurated about 4 months back. And I think that is going to become a kind of umbrella body for many organizations to come together for different kinds of activities, like, for example, surveys, databasing, putting together a digital repository, and also perhaps teaching manuscriptology and other things besides. So that has a much larger mandate, one of which is also to look at manuscripts that have gone outside India, which have their own very rich histories, and of each of these institutions that are housed in different institutions abroad for South Asia, also within South Asia. So this is a project that tries to bring together whatever collections are available in South and Southeast Asia, as also how they have gone to other places, and not to take away anything, but only as digital copies and through open access technology. So with that introduction, I have a PPT that I'd like to show you, which explains how we would like to do that. So yeah. So SAMHiTA, South Asian Manuscript Histories and Textual Archive. Like I said, it is a database and digital repository of South Asian manuscripts and supported by the Ministry of External Affairs and the Government of India. So it aims to build an online platform accessible to scholars worldwide. So that is a very moot point. We don't want to keep anything under control, under some kind of cover. Everything, whatever we have to put together has to be online, to accessible to researchers, scholars, and the public, whoever wants to look at it and engage with it. To create a comprehensive resource on South Asia's texts, to apply technology to make text searchable. We were just talking 1 minute back that technology now facilitates wider dissemination. So this is to make it searchable and make it more widely disseminatable. To cross-reference how ideas and stories evolved and traveled, and how they created new ideas and stories. And that story of is what we'd like to put together also. So, yeah, so to put some context to the whole thing, circulation of South Indian texts in, it's a bit, yeah, right. So within Asia, right from the 2nd century onwards, South Asian texts on medicine, astronomy, scripture, and other domains traveled to all places in the Southeast Asia and also West Asia, and which were carried by pilgrims, travelers, translators. This story is very well known, but I don't have to explain this and explain this further. And to go by country instances, in Nepal, there are preserved manuscripts from the 9th century that cast, I think one of the first one that has been discovered, I think, is the famous Shruta Samhita. So not only that, there are many. I mean, all this doesn't have to be said, but I'm just putting it in context. For example, on Buddhism, on aesthetics, on medicine, on different aspects of scripture, and so these things are preserved very well. And Buddhist manuscripts especially circulated between the Indian subcontinent, between Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and Tibet. And we just had a conference on Atisha, on the great monk Atisha, who went to all these places. So it is actually a living testimony of what we experienced through that manuscript exhibition and conference that I'm talking about now. It was fascinating to, yeah. So in Europe, we're coming to Europe from about the 17th century onwards. Europeans also became very interested in Indian philosophy, religion, and literature. And manuscripts went from here for many reasons, as donations, as some kind of royal gifts, even as selling. So it was also donated to libraries in the West, which were put together by different institutions. So the major collections in that include just some of them: the British Museum, Wellcome, Oxford University, Berlin, Hamburg, Tübingen, Harvard, Pennsylvania, and many other institutions and countries. So smaller collections are also scattered across Asia, Europe, and North America of Indic texts and manuscripts. So I'm just citing some instances that we had documented as collections. For example, the Institute of Oriental Manuscripts in St. Petersburg, the Udine Manuscript Municipal Library in Italy, the Gulistan Palace in Tehran, Al-Biruni Institute in Tashkent, the Yerevan Matena Daran, the Institute of Ancient Manuscripts in Armenia. It was a surprise, and it was a pleasant surprise that quite a few manuscripts, at least I mean, were found in those places, including a beautiful illustrated Bhagavad Gita, and some, I think there was also a Malayalam manuscript. So that is the kind of circulation. So kind of mapping that had happened in South Asian manuscripts, the story so far, how did they did? Mainly, as we know, it is through some kind of surveys were done, and surveys were put together in catalogs. So some major ones being the Pullman collection in North America, which has about 7,273 texts and beyond. I'm talking about the Indic only. But Klaus Janert in 1965 has a worldwide collection, about 50,000 roughly. Then Pearson catalog, which is in Europe and North America, which is about 66,000, 67,000 around, not exactly. Then what we depend upon is the Biswas and Prajapati catalog in 1988. It is again worldwide. He says about 2.1 million manuscripts. The V. Raghavan, which is actually a follow-up of Fresh's Catalogus Catalogorum, which has now he renamed this as New Catalogus Catalogorum, and with K.V. Sharma, the great scholar K.V. Sharma, which continued by Sinirutha Das under the National Mission for Manuscripts, which had supported that to complete the digitization. And so that is also another big project. Internationally, there are too many to name anything. So I'm just mentioning two of them: the International Tung Huang Project, the Nepal German Manuscript Preservation Project, very significant. So now that kind of closed libraries are moving towards open source, open libraries. So from the VOHD catalogs in the Oriental Manuscript published online to the Kalamos database in Berlin, there are many efforts that have come in the recent past also to make it all open. The University of Pennsylvania, we all know about it. It's an open, which is the open data repository of digitized manuscripts, where high-res files are free to download. In fact, we have also collaborated with them on this manuscript database exchange and also digital repository. Pen in Hand, which is an online interface to search and view digitized manuscripts and metadata, and in which there are more than 2,700 Indic manuscripts were digitized, and also machine-readable cataloging records amount to about 1,700 and all. And the University of Harvard in the USA has about 1,700 manuscript cataloged and to be digitized and integrated with digital text for its online library. The Cambridge University, some of this we had visited and some of this we have gathered online data and cataloged about 1,600 manuscripts and digitized about almost 600. And I think they are in the process of doing more, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, Tokyo University, the Sanskrit manuscripts from Nepal and Tibet were collected in the late 19th, early 20th century. And some were damaged in the earthquake in 1923, and the catalogs were lost, and they were recatalogued in 36 from 1936 to 44, published in 65. And the university's digital archives construction project captured high-res images and using the IIIF technology. And again, we have benefited from that collection also for our database and digital repository. Very thankful to the University of Tokyo. Then the Khmer manuscripts are open access images and metadata of their manuscripts. We know about the Islamic manuscripts, the Union Catalog of Manuscripts from the Islamic world, but only metadata for now. So we had put together if you have access to, and of course if you have opened the SAMHiTA website, we have put together a live map of whatever we have collected so far. It's an ongoing project, but we have identified about 331 collections of Indic manuscripts right now based on Biswas and Prajapati survey, sorted by country, collection, size, and language. So I have put one here as one instance of what our descriptions are, or description amounts to. It gives the date, then it gives the description of how many manuscripts, printed books, and examples of book binding in this particular case, and also the catalog, how many exhibitions had happened, generally an idea about what that repository amounts to, and some details about how many manuscripts are collected in each of them. So that is like that. We have tried to do all these 330, but it's it is a work in progress. Like I said, it has to be, I'm sure there has to be much more. Coming with all that back to SAMHiTA, how SAMHiTA, actually we started in 2015. We wanted to start this in 2015. We approached the government at that time and also to other sources, but like I said, the manuscript mission was also in a dormant state, so we could not rustle up neither the funds nor the capacity of people to put it together. Then after IIC, I had joined IIC in 2021. We revived it, and with a great interest, because International Research Division, this one of the mandates of the mission of this division is to connect with other countries and other institutions. So this became much easier, and very gladly this Ministry of External Affairs gave us support. So hopefully this has to continue, given I mean whatever time it takes. I think that's a very difficult, I mean, it's a very challenging task. There are many challenges, but we have started it. Let us see where it goes, how it goes. So it has to create, it is aimed at creating connections across the globe, a kind of manuscript repositories with Indian and South Indian collections across South Asian collections across the world, and leading to an open access web platform to make it accessible, all this knowledge. And we are also drawing up a list of scholars who can be contacted domain wise. Again, it's an ongoing effort to make this list of scholars on by their country, and thereby specialized disciplines and areas. From the Indology list, of course, as everyone knows, it's a very broad list. But even apart from that, howsoever we are able to put it together. So the three or four things that we do is relational database. I'm sure that I think Professor Yigal Bronner may have talked about this in a previous session, I think. But anyway, we are using the Pandit prosopographical database of Indic texts put together by Yigal Bronner and his group of scholars that cross-references information on manuscripts. I'm also happy to say that Regal Bronner has sort of contributed, has given over the database with all its content and all the technology to IIC, to the SAMHiTA project, so that now we are here to take it forward. Of course, with great help from the academic community and all of you for contributions and any kind of help. So the second is digitization of manuscripts through networking with repositories in South Asia and other parts of the world. So this is how we approach other countries and other institutions. Then we request them about the information. Then we ask them, how is your collection? What is the nature of your? Many people do respond enthusiastically, but I think it is generally a felt need that we need a kind of unified place where everything can be seen together, so that the researchers can access it easily. But also there are some constraints about which I'll talk later. Then apart from that, we also do lectures, exhibitions, and workshops to make it more known to people. For example, we say that among scholars, people know what is mathematics, what is Buddhism, what is medicine, any Ayurveda. But then it all percolates down to the same kind of, this is one of our experiences, that it percolates down to the same kind of people, same people talk about it. So we wanted to take it to a more extensive, extensive clientele or extensive group who can understand. And it's not as though, apart from students, researchers, and scholars, many people are interested. So we want to take it a little bit more to the popular side, and also, so that's why lectures, of course, and exhibitions are very much a priority. And many people, I'm very happy to say that many people come and see the exhibitions that we put up, specialized exhibitions. And of course, workshops are very important. Then sometimes we also offer master classes, which actually the National Manuscript Mission used to do a lot at that time. But now, with experts in languages, scripts, and manuscriptology, in which we invite students and researchers to. So sometimes what we do is to explain the history of a kind of a circulation of one type of text, or sometimes manuscriptology aspects like script reading or things like that, and how to do critical editing with experts in the field. So that also is something that people find favor with. So coming to open digital resource, it's actually an ongoing effort with collections. We want to source and try to source and also sourcing with Bhutan, Cambodia, Denmark, France, Japan, Nepal, Sri Lanka. These are again, like I said, ongoing efforts. By the early next year, we would have collected about 4,000 manuscripts, which will be published online with metadata and descriptions. And also, entries will be linked to related works and authors through the Pandit project. And like I had said earlier, we had done a kind of scoping meeting with representatives of the government, scholars, and other institution holders to discuss public and private collections, and also to how technology can be used in the best manner possible to put it all together. This was in 2021 when we started out. Now, after that, we also had another workshop with experts from different countries on what are the standards. I mean, if we have to say unified catalog and unified text base, then it has to have also a unified standard. So what could be the standards that we could look at for putting together an exhaustive cataloging and digitization program of South Asian manuscripts? What is specific about South Asian manuscripts, and how is it important for broader South Asian studies in South Asia? So the other things that we have done are lectures, conferences, like I said, exhibitions and master classes. The first one was called Evam Vadati Pustakam, so says the manuscript tell their own stories. And it had, and then we also did 16 lectures, again, like an ongoing effort. Some of the important scholars came and spoke on the domains that they were familiar with and they had expertise in. This is the list. I'll take 1 minute for you to see this. To just give you an instance, Professor Saroja Bhatte was talked about the Mahabharsha Deepika, and in 23rd September 2022, Dr. Oscar Pujol, a Spanish scholar and also Spanish and Sanskrit scholar, talked about Sanskrit lexicography in Spanish, 2023, and then many beside. Professor Shankar Thapa, a scholar from Nepal, recently came and very he gave more than 2,000 of his collected and digitized manuscripts to IIC to this SAMHiTA, and also spoke about the importance of Buddhist Sanskrit manuscripts of Nepal recently in September 2005, a very significant event. So yeah, this was again another important, it's a very significant conference and exhibition that we had on South Asia's manuscript traditions and mathematical contributions. We keep saying a lot that India invented zero and every number system, trigonometry, algebra, all this we ascribe to India. So what is it that the text says? So through texts of different texts and evolution of text and the circulation of text, we had a conference and also a detailed exhibition, a very detailed exhibition on development, the key texts, exchange and transmission, applications across domains, and also the keynote address was by the field scholar, Professor Manjul Bhargava. And Professor M.D. Srinivas, the mathematician, gave the valediction, and more than 15, 16 people who, not just mathematicians, but who have done work on the history of mathematics in Indian, came and attended it. And I think this exhibition that we have put together is likely to go to different places, right from, the UN, and because everybody seems to be, and it's not just about India, and it's about how exchanges happen, so how circulation of text happen, how how many of the key concepts were reconfigured and came back to India. So it is not just about India and its mathematics, but South Asia and its contribution, and how it went to West Asia, it went to other places, to Iran, and how it came back. So it was quite well received at that point of time. Yeah. So this was some of the people who came for that, the conference. And the exhibitions, like I said, the first one was called Evam Vadati Pustakam. We started with that. It's called Manuscript Tell Their Stories, Evam Vadati Pustakam. It gave a first overview of how do we talk about the manuscript cultures in India, the beginnings of writing in India, and the materials of manuscript production, the evolution of different scripts. And I think we demonstrated more than 30 scripts at that time. And that was a very major exercise to have started. Some major texts representing different domains. I mean, so what do these texts represent? I mean, not just about scripture and sciences, but also games and fun things and Kama Shastra. So all again aimed at people who have have less of an idea to come and understand. So it became very, very popular across people. And also not just about us, but how manuscript went to other parts of the world and how the circulation of manuscripts over the centuries. And we demonstrated it over about 80 images, not from India, but also sourced from other places like Denmark, Nepal, USA, UK, apart from India. So these are some of the images. I mean, ultimately we will put them online, but we have not yet done that. But all these three, to the extent possible, information and the exhibition we will put online. And so these are some of the images and some of the time. This is the Minister of External Affairs and the President IIC, Professor Ambassador Shyam Saran. So another one was Tasgirat al-Safar, the manuscripts and encounters across cultures. So this was again an exhibition of select manuscripts on Samhita and of manuscripts from Central Asia, curated by Professor Chandrasekhar, who has worked a lot on Persian manuscripts and connections between India and Central Asia, tracing the circulation of Buddhist narratives, scientific works, and literary translations across Asia. The five themes that we dealt with were our early textual encounters, word and form, visualizing the celestial and the terrestrial, kosha, kavya, and kasmash, language in a cosmopolitan world, expanding audiences and meanings, text in translation, and manuscript makers and collectors. So this is some slides on of that exhibition. So coming to the mathematical sciences, the exhibition on mathematical sciences. So these manuscripts were of landmark works illustrating how concepts and methods across Asia, their influence on astronomy, navigation and trade, on poetry, architecture and music. We were saying it's only not about astronomy and but also other domains, for example, poetry, dance, architecture, sculpture, everything. I mean, nothing, not more in too much happens without mathematics. So how in each of these domains the mathematics impacted and how they were illustrated also. So inceptions of the emergence of numbers and geometric thinking and of the idea of zero. Zero, of course, everybody talks about zero. So how that emerged and how that expanded through text and also through connections across India, across the border. Breakthroughs in trigonometry and calculus from the 5th century CE, form and pattern in sculpture, architecture, and music, but also extensive to other domains also. Diffusions of Indic concepts and texts to Asia and Europe. The regional traditions, many people talk about the Kerala School of Mathematics and how many concepts developed and spread from there. So with a focus on astronomy in Kerala, translations of Sanskrit works and of works from other traditions into Sanskrit, applications, how, for example, mathematics also applied to Accounting is a very major area that is mentioned right from the beginning, right from the earlier text, and how measurement and record keeping are also use the medium of mathematics for their profession. So this was the mathematical South Asia contribution. Again, Manjul Bhargava, like I said, gave the keynote. So come with all this, I'd like to also talk to you about some of the challenges that we face on how to go forward. For example, the government regulations on access to manuscripts. In some places some countries, by places I mean countries. When we go to some countries and then access the universities, especially in South Asia and Southeast Asia, sometimes universities are not they can't exist by themselves. They're always attached, connected to some relevant ministries. So without that permission, they can't open any of their collections to anybody. Especially if it is across the border, then there is a lot of much more safety measures and copyright and that sort of thing. So that is a very long-winded process when we start something. So that's one area of difficulty for us. Not difficulty, these are constraints that we have to go through. The other one is open access calls for trust building. Open access is a problem with many people. If it is open access, many institutions are reluctant to share knowledge. There is a thirdly, there is also a lack of trust. As if you go to, for example, we have faced it more in the National Manuscript Mission. When you go to some places, they say that today, because you are from the government, though IIC, of course, is not from the government, but for the Manuscript Mission, they used to say that you are from the government. Today, you want us to show it and share it. Tomorrow, you want to take it away. So how do we trust you? So there is the kind of trust issues. Then ethical use. Will people use it ethically? Will they do it? For example, Ayurveda and many other things. Will they use it for their own personal gain? What is our role in this? So that sort of thing. Then, of course, reluctance about specialized knowledge. Some sacred manuscripts are not open. These are all understandable problems. I mean, all this what I mentioned are very, very ethically right. And then, but how to go about them, how to deal with them is a challenge. Then uneven availability of infrastructure. Many institutions and many places have not that many. The catalogs are not there. Some people have hand lists, and then catalogs are not fully. They're not full. There's some limited number of manuscripts, and then there are no people. There's a positive expert. They may be in local, for example, local languages, local scripts, regional languages, and nobody knows how to do it. So they have also kept there. And then uneven standards and terms in terms of digitization. Then, of course, competing priorities for cataloging and digitization. So these are some of the challenges that we have faced through this and are likely to face again. But India and South Asia, I think, are now in a position to take a more comprehensive view of manuscripts. Because, like I said, the NMM started in 2003. Now it is being scaled up. Let's see how it goes on. Gyan Bharatam, there's a lot of hope with the custodians and the institutions. SAMHiTA is perhaps poised to complement Gyan Bharatam, which is about national manuscripts. So SAMHiTA is supported by the MEA and also other institutions. We also may have the facility of, if needed, drawing upon diplomatic support to approach, but all that hopefully not. It's a scholarly, as much as possible, how we can go ahead with direct contact with institutions and and repositories. So in the next 3 years, we are thinking of creating this resource on Asian interactions through history and a lively forum of exchange today. And also want to, apart from the database and want to make specialized source books on specific domains like healing, or like what we said about scripts or education, whatever these master classes and all that can also lead to some kind of source texts I'm not saying books, but texts, integrating with university teaching, which we had something was started at the National Manuscript Mission, but I think it is now more important that university has have to come up with having courses, on manuscriptology and also script training, because there is so much of a big need to connect with that educational institutions in particular, and of course apply AI for tagging, OCR, and for tracking connections.
Thank you so much, Sudaji. That was quite tour de force through, well, what you're actually doing, and also very interesting, I think, also addressing the, let's say, stumbling blocks, so the challenges at least. And but so this is an undertaking that is very admirable, I think. And from what I can say, I think you have really identified the larger challenges, but you're still tackling them, which I find very admirable. It's wonderful to know that this project now exists, and I do hope that we all can contribute to it and can cooperate on that. And I think this meeting is also designed, and the purpose of this meeting is definitely to facilitate such connections. I'm very happy to see that Pandit was basically integrated into SAMHiTA, because you rightly said that we had a presentation by Yigal Bronner, and so at that point it was still very unclear what would be happening to Pandit, and I'm very happy to hear that the solution has been found.